All right, guys, so we got the car hooked up. Just finished all the exhaust work, going over to Devin's shop. He's our body shop guy. Devin does amazing work. He's worked on a lot of our Tech Art parts, some Ferrari pieces, Aston Martin, and is really good with understanding custom fabrication. So we're excited to get the car over to Devin, do a walk around with him, show him everything that we learned from the first chassis and the things that we want to alter and change in this one, along with putting together a game plan and get him cracking on it. So let's catch up with Devin when we get there and regroup then.
Yep.
And just sand it down, maybe a quarter inch, just so it's a sharp line, is that?
Yep. And so they kind of have these locationally in place, but they still may need some alteration here. So what we've always done in the past is, so that you see this bracket system they made in here.
Okay, there, yeah.
So that's a factory mounting bracket system. But what's going to happen is you're going to dig into this. So when we drop it down on the air, and I'll show you how to use the air setup, it's going to need some clearancing here.
Okay.
So you may need to redo some stuff in here, which is perfectly normal.
Okay.
The only thing that we have to keep in mind is this gap here. That shouldn't be down like that. You see that gap?
Yeah.
Right there?
Okay, so that should be tight.
Yep, it should be that same clearance there, which is like 2 millimeters or something.
Okay.
And on the other side, it's worse. Fresh geraniums at the body shop. As you can see, we're just wrapping up. Dropped the car off to Devin, went over the whole plan with it, dropped off a gang of parts. We got to bring back the wheels for fitment on the air suspension. And then once we get that going, I think he's on a fast track to get the car through paint and body pretty quick and get back to our shop, because we're only going to have about 30 days to put it all together, including upholstery, all the brakes, suspension, whatever. But you know the drill. Well, let's go, Dave. Let's go. So since there's a lot of B-roll, guys, what I wanted to do is kind of talk you through what you're seeing through this video. So what we spend a lot of time on with the body shop guys is really styling in those body lines so that they tailor into the door panels and the fender panels perfectly. We also want to maintain the sharpness of the factory lines, which a lot of companies do not do. The more cohesive you can make that line blend into that door, the more like it looks like that kit belongs on the car. And you see in some of these images, when it's finished, it's a very sharp, determining line that you can see go through that fender. Now the guys spend a lot of time with us going through each individual panel one at a time and not just kind of broad form doing it. From the bumper extensions to the door handle extensions, all of that stuff really needs to tie into each other to make sure that the kit looks as OE as possible. A lot of the stuff that you'll see behind the scenes or in the fender liners is a lot of trimming to bracketry, old original bracketry stuff for fender liner fitment. You know, a lot of our brackets that we have to attach to the inside of the fenders are literally done one at a time so that we can reuse those factory attachment points. In this case, we have to raise and lower the suspension so that we're making sure that we have clearance all the way through. So it takes quite a bit of time to go through all of these. Now, another important factor is coming up with a plan that doesn't really impede with your turning radius, but also doesn't take a lot of real estate up in your fender wells. And the fender liners tend to be probably the most challenging part of kind of tying everything together. When you see a lot of wide bodies, they just don't have the fender liners in because it's just a lot easier. We always try to make sure that every car has fender liners in it, and we try to reuse as much as the factory liner as possible and then altering that so that it does kind of fit and finish and look like an OE factory fender liner. All right, guys, we're at the body shop today. Devin's in the booth spraying as we speak. We're laying down the rapid blue color, and then we'll be clearing afterwards, and then it'll get wrapped a special color for SEMA this year. So today we're going to show you a little bit of that process inside of the booth, Then we will begin on Monday, mocking everything up and getting the fenders and everything back on the car. Make sure fender liners and everything fit great. We will trailer it back to the shop, break it down apart for the color change and final assembly stuff, gearing up for SEMA. So let's jump back into it, guys. So similar to a lot of the body work, I wanted to kind of talk through some of the paint process. So Devin uses all the PPG products, and while we do have factory codes for all of the paints that we end up painting, we always do spray outs and compare them in different lighting conditions to make sure that the paint is dead on. When you do this properly, you don't ever usually have to blend unless you're dealing with a severe metallic. So after getting all of the body lines, everything straight, we go ahead and have everything primed similar to all of the factory panels, and go through and make sure everything looks level. We don't have any filler, anything showing through. And then after that primer coat sets, we'll start laying on, in this case, Rapid Blue. Now, you see the Rapid Blue going down, and we did wrap this car, but a lot of people ask, are your panels painted underneath? And yes, we always paint the vehicle to the factory color, no matter if we're wrapping it or not, so that if the client ever gets the urge to change the color or go back to factory, they can simply remove the wrap and have the factory color underneath. What a lot of shops, I feel like, overlook is really doing the inside and outside finishing of the fender. So while you see all the paint go down and that looks great, the inside of the fenders and backsides are always either Line-X'd or lizard skinned, so that we have a smooth, nice finish on the inside, and it kind of mimics a finished panel so that there isn't really any unfinished carbon or fibers showing. Now, on this particular build, we did do 3 coats of the Rapid Blue until we found a finish that we liked. Obviously, taping off all around the exposed carbon fender vents and things like that are really imperative. And then we'll go ahead and start to apply lots and lots of clear. Now, we have found that clear coating these probably 3, 4, 5 coats, depending on what kind of finish we're looking for, has been the most successful. Heavy build coats, and then we wet sand, polish, and buff to get to the desired finish that we want. As you guys start to see Devin lay down our coats of clear coat on this and really turn it into glass, another important factor to keep in mind is many people will start to wrap or PPF over top of painted parts right away. And there's varying thoughts on this and discussions in our industry on what's proper. Some manufacturers say you can wrap them after 72 hours. Some say wait for the paint to outgas for 30 days. We tend to like the wait as much as possible just because we've seen some failures in some product after wrapping right away, and it's basically just what you're comfortable with. So we tend to lean on the safe side and allow the paint to properly outgas. That way, if we have any issues, whether it's with vinyl or PPF, they can't blame it on the fact that we've wrapped the panel too early. Justin will cut and polish everything on here for us, and we will get them back on the car, and you can see just in some of these photos how glossy that paint really turns out. So while we were at the body shop, we obviously have all of our other detailed stuff done, our calipers, papaya orange, our engine covers, and all of our other accessories we want painted. We get that all done at the same time, and it really just comes together beautifully when done. So we just got back to the shop from Devon's. Really happy with the way everything kind of turned out. Got the car out here in the sunlight, and the Rapid Blue is just gleaming, as you guys can see behind me. Now really starts the time when we get the car in here and start grinding, getting everything done. We've got exhaust, interior, the suspension, what we're gonna release. A quick little change for SEMA, that we're gonna launch a product with a really special company we're proud to work with. So we've got a little suspension upgrade going on. Wheels, tires, a bunch of forged carbon, obviously, as you guys have seen in the past, but you can see the blue. It just looks spectacular out here in the sunlight. Unfortunately, we're gonna cover it up and make it look a little different, but for now you get to see it painted. So let's get it inside the shop and join you when we start throwing some carbon on this car and some final finishing touches after this long marathon.